And welcome to another Mark Bishop show. Well, I believe we are experiencing some pretty serious fires over the last few years. I mean, how do we get to live with wildfires? Well, apart from learning wildfire preparedness tips, it's also important to contact your insurer. And this is why, to make sure that you have the right coverage. You may think you do. Well, that's why we're fortunate today to have Karen Collins, Assistant Vice President at American Property Casualty Insurance Association. That's the APCIA. She's on the show. Welcome, Karen.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here.
Well, you know, the price of construction materials, Karen, has risen by 44% inflation. Recent supply chain issues and increased demand for construction materials, following unprecedented natural disasters in the last 2 years, they've contributed to a significant increase in the costs to rebuild homes and businesses. So, quite frankly, I guess now is the time to take action to review or update your insurance coverage and mitigate property to lower ember intrusion. I mean, many homeowners may find that they're underinsured after a wildfire if they have not updated their insurance policy recently. Now, that's correct, isn't it, Karen?
Absolutely. As you noted, we've seen reconstruction costs jump substantially in the last couple of years. We have seen lumber costs, as most recently this summer, still up over 50% since the start of the pandemic, steel over 100% higher. So those reconstruction costs add up quickly, and they can really put a strain on the coverage you have available through your insurance policy to rebuild. So you don't want to be caught short. Make sure you're doing those updates to your policy. Often we'll encourage an annual update to sit down with your insurance company and review coverage, but so much is happening so quickly that you may not want to wait for that annual renewal cycle. Give them a call today. Double check what your limits are versus what maybe the local costs are to rebuild, looking at materials and labor, and make sure that your home insurance is reflective of what your features of your home are. We saw a lot of trends in the pandemic of people doing home improvement projects, which is great. But if you added that new work from home space or updated that kitchen with some beautiful granite, make sure your insurance company knows about that so that you have that included in your coverage when that loss does occur.
Oh, my word. You can excuse the pun on that, but, that's just burning money, isn't it? If you don't go and do that, all that money put into it, Karen, look, you're the expert. How about some tips, to get prepared for a wildfire? Would you like to go through some of those with us?
Yeah, let me give you maybe the top three, and then we can dig in further.
Okay.
Number one, focus on that 5-foot zone. We want to see folks creating a 5-foot ignition resistant zone around your home. Clear that debris off your roof and gutters. Remove all those combustible items like vegetation, furniture, or firewood piles away from the house, at least 5 feet away, including if you have a deck, anything stored underneath that. Number two, as we talked about, update your policy. Those construction costs are adding up, so make sure you've got the right kind and amount of coverage. And I can give you some specifics on questions to talk through with your insurance company on that. And then three, home inventories. Create a home inventory using your smartphone. Take a video of each room in your house and make sure you're saving that footage virtually. Those are really, when it boils down, your top three things that you really want to focus on.
Why, gee, that's a good one. Your last one about taking, video footage. I mean, today there's no excuse. Just about everybody has a phone. And, you can shoot with it, can't you,
Yeah, most don't realize the value a home inventory can provide in making the recovery process easier. I mentioned that from both a emotional process, but also to facilitate really a faster settlement by having that documentation readily available. We strongly recommend homeowners as well as renters document the contents in your home before a fire happens. And there's, again, 3 quick tips on how to approach that. You can use your smartphone, whether you take a video or individual photographs, just do it of every room. Open the drawers, the closets, even inside your garage, and capture what's in there. And if you're doing it through a video, make sure you're describing kind of along the way, what are these contents? What did you pay for them? Where did you buy them? When did you buy them? And make a special note of any higher end items like electronics, your TVs and computers, also your appliances, sports equipment, jewelry, any artwork, just so you have a record of what those were. And then lastly, once you've created it, make sure you save it in a safe place. Store that file in a virtual, in the cloud, virtual file, or in a fireproof safe, or at a safe location away from the home, so it's readily available in the event you do need to use it.
Oh, what fabulous advice. Karen, let me ask you this. How can you ensure your finances are protected, before a wildfire?
There's some really great questions that you should ask your insurance company when you give them a call. Make sure, as I mentioned, that you are reflecting the current features of your home. So many don't realize, and especially if it's been a lot of time that's passed since you bought your policy, what are the features? What's the granite, the square footage, kind of all those interior finishes, and make sure any changes that you've made are in fact reflected. Make sure that you know what your policy covers. Is it a replacement cost policy or an actual cash value policy? There's a difference. With cash value, there's going to be depreciation that they take into account that pays less for aged items. Replacement cost is definitely a more robust policy to replace all of your items at the current market prices. There's also some optional coverage endorsements you might consider. There is extended replacement cost endorsements, which, again, if everybody is having to rebuild at the same time, there is a demand surge for both materials and labor, and that can push the costs up even higher than they are currently. And so this extended replacement cost endorsement gives you an even higher boost of coverage to rebuild to account for that demand surge. Separately, there's a lot of states passing new building codes or energy ordinance codes. Think of like solar panels. And if you have to build to a higher standard because of these new ordinances that are in place, that's an optional coverage that you can actually increase benefits for to help offset any need to comply with those. And then lastly, maybe consider additional living expense coverage increases. The challenge with the reconstruction environment is that it's taking longer to get materials, and the demand on labor is creating longer time frames needed to rebuild homes and businesses. And so if you're going to be out of your home longer, that's an additional cost that can really add up. So increasing that additional living expense coverage can give you some additional cushion to offset those expenses.
Yeah, some very good ideas there. We do tend to forget about upgrading, because that's what happens. Now, look, other than the obvious, and you touched on quite a bit before, why is it important to contact your insurer about coverage prior to a natural disaster?
It's really important that you contact them prior, again, so you're not caught by surprise when a loss occurs. You want to be able to update your coverage and make sure that you have enough to rebuild. The resources through, federal grants or FEMA, sometimes folks think that, that will cover me with the gaps, and those benefits are not very significant. So your best financial resource really is through your personal private insurance policy, and you want to make sure that is as robust and meeting your needs given the current inflationary environment. Two, you want to be able to learn about some of the new programs that are emerging that really can help you understand how to effectively mitigate your property to prevent embers from igniting and burning your home. The Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety, or IBHS, has some excellent research that scientifically shows you the best steps to actually mitigate your home to reduce your risk. And they can walk you through some of those options. If you want to learn more yourself directly, you can access that through wildfireprepared.org. It's a program that was launched in California with plans to expand to other states like Arizona and other surrounding regions. But they are scientifically able to tell you, here are the core steps you should do that will most meaningfully reduce your risk. Mm-hmm. And if you need more information on that or some of these other things I've talked about, our website, apci.org/wildfire, has additional resources as well on how to do that inventory and tips on what you might expect in the recovery process. So again, it's about planning so that you're not caught off guard. The more you can be prepared, the more it'll be a much easier recovery process. And that's really what it is about making this as easy and quick of an experience in the event you have a loss. But our goal is to help you hopefully not have that loss in the first place.
Yes, fabulous advice. Thank you, Karen Collins. She serves as Assistant Vice President, Personal Lines in the Policy, Research and International Division for the American Property Casualty Insurance Association, the APCIA. And just quickly, go to the website, folks, www.apci.org/wildfire. All right, fabulous site, plenty of info on it, and catch up on that. Thank you, Karen. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much. You as well.